I didn't write an intro for this, actually.
Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, consider subscribing. My name is Joshua, and welcome to Cine Dailies. Now, this is a segment I wanted to bring to the channel for a while now, and that is having a conversation about that transition that you make from being an independent filmmaker into getting more set work. So becoming a director, becoming a DP, a sound guy, working with a bigger budget, working with a bigger crew, and more. But to name a few channels that are doing this already, Potato Jet, Film Riot, Mark Bone, and Buff Nerds, just to name a few. Now, I did film this on the A7S III with the 16-35mm lens and the Rode VideoMic Pro Plus. I say that because we did film this in the Aputure studio in LA. We'll kind of touch on that too, and this is actually a working place, so you'll hear a little bit of loudness, and I did try to work the audio a little bit, but bear with me. As more of these kind of come out, I would love to hear your feedback, how this can improve. I definitely want to be using lav mics next time for doing these sort of interviews, but also who do you want to see on the channel moving forward? All right, enough that. Let's get into Brittney and her journey, and let's do it.
We're actually here in Aputure's studio, actually, and we have Ian here on the floor. Ian is the community manager. You didn't know you were going to be in here. Say hi. You're cool with this? You're good with
Yeah,
this? Okay,
fine.
cool. Yeah.
It's community lead.
Community lead. I am so sorry.
So if you hear all the noise, this is why.
Yeah, if you hear people in the background, because actual people working here, we're just like, Ian, can we just film in here real quick? So he's been kind for us to do that.
Yes.
I came out to actually film some BTS for Brittney, as well as a couple other projects, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little about the project you were working on.
Yeah, so we were shooting for Skillshare, and it's essentially, we all know what Skillshare is. You can pretty much create your own class. So we were doing it for a guitarist as well as a pianist.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And so I was just kind of hovering around like a fly, seeing her in action, because we've actually known each other for about 3-ish years. Yeah. But we've never met until now.
Yeah, I feel like social makes you feel like you actually know the person.
Exactly.
You met the person, but you really haven't.
I've actually watched you from afar as you've transitioned from doing like what we all do is a filmmaking career. So we kind of do everything. We are the director, we are the producer, we are the editor and film and the video person, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but you're going through an interesting transition where you're coming from that independent filmmaking life to doing more set work,
Mm-hmm.
specifically being a DP in the commercial world.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me how that transition is working out for you.
It was hard at the beginning because there's no blueprint, and there's not even a lot of information that teaches you that transition.
Yeah.
So really a lot of people think that I've been DPing for such a long time, but I've been a filmmaker for a long time, but I haven't really been DPing until the first time I started DPing really was last year. And I DP'd for a production company called Hillman Grad, and that was my first time hiring a crew. Like finding a first AC, figuring out what a first AC is, and a second AC, hiring a gaffer, a key grip, all of those, like that was my first time, and I was kind of like, luckily I have a lot of friends that are DPs, so it was a matter of like being very inquisitive, asking a bunch of questions, but there really was no transitional process or blueprint on it, so I'm still learning as I go. All the terms and the logistics, and you know, there's a lot of pre-production when you're a DP. There's a lot of like kind of knowing more about lighting, knowing like exact equipment that you want. When a project comes your way, you know, the producer's like, all right, what's the equipment list? What do you need for a grip? Like really kind of like learning about all of that. You kind of have to like know all the worlds, and that's what I'm trying to learn now.
So actually, like watching you from afar, you've only been doing DP for a year. It did feel like you were doing this for much longer, because you were on some really big projects really quick. So I think like the one project I remember you going on was the trip to Africa, and you were telling me a little bit more about that. What were you out there for? And also mention like your specialty of how you're getting into these different types of jobs.
So I've always been a person that likes telling stories. That was what I was doing. So my specialty is documentary work. I really love telling stories, and I'm dabbling into commercial work. Going to Africa, I actually got the opportunity to go to Africa for 2 months to shoot, to document a feature film for Viola Davis called The Women King. So it's like her film about these Agoji warriors. It's all black women from Africa who pretty much like killed the game back in the day. Like, so I got to, for 2 months, be in Cape Town. South Africa documenting the whole experience.
That's wild.
Yeah,
yo.
it was my first time being in the motherland, so that was already one thing.
Okay.
And then two, just you do BTS, but like on a whole actual set, it's so much different.
So we should expect that footage you shot to be the featurette later on when the movie's coming.
I am hoping that it is a featurette. I've been talking to Sony about potentially doing like a documentary using all the B-roll that I shot, because it was some good stuff there.
Yeah,
like
man.
a lot of all the women did their own stunts.
Yeah.
Like it was just a magnificent time,
That's
and just
awesome.
even to see.
Yeah, and
So,
witness that, let alone capture it. One thing that's unique about you is that you already mentioned the fact that you do BTS. So you marry the documentary storytelling with the fact that you get on these big sets to tell a different story behind what's happening. And I could say, like, a lot of people don't think about BTS as being like legit work, but you get paid doing
Yo.
BTS work.
Honestly, like BTS is like my bread and butter, to be honest with you. Like I love DP work, I love filmmaking work, but for some odd reason I think we don't look at BTS as like a way to make a lucrative career, because everybody looks at it as videography. Like, oh, you're doing BTS, this is videography, but it's like no matter what the term is, like it's good money there. So there's basically levels of what BTS is. So of course you do BTS for like music videos or weddings and things like that, but as you level up, you kind of start to see like not only being on bigger sets and getting paid more, but also how to create these BTS, like how to create a story with BTS. But as you kind of level up, you realize like this is documenting. Whatever you're on, you're documenting this. So there's still a story involved.
So you're also using elements of storytelling. So you're using sound, you're using transitions, you're using texture, you're using lighting. All those things come into play when trying to tell this other story.
Yeah,
behind it.
and so I try to look at it as how can I tell a story with all of this that I have in my possession, right? It's really not just shooting behind the scenes, but it's documenting, and that's very important.
Yeah. Going back to like why we're making this video is that transition from being an independent filmmaker to getting into all these different facets of set life, the filmmaking career, through your work for BTS and stuff. That's also allowed you to branch out to do different projects, to work with different types of sets, not just doing more BTS, but like now you can direct a particular project, you can be a cinematographer for a particular project. And that's also something you got to think about too, is like, don't think less of the work that you're trying to do now. So again, filmmakers, we wear our pride on our sleeve where we can produce a whole project by ourselves. That's good, and you can learn all those little different things so you can be knowledgeable. But also, once you're trying to level up and get to this level, you need to be proficient in a specific area, at least 3 areas. So shooting and understand how to assist on set. So being a first AC, being a PA, being all those other things, that's going to definitely grow in that space, because nobody's going to hire you to be just a filmmaker if you're going to sets.
Yeah, exactly. That's so true. So as you level up from a filmmaker to a DP, again, it's great that we learn how to do everything, but something's always going to go lacking. You can't put 100% in everything at the same time. So the cool thing and the great thing is that as a DP, I can focus solely on the creative, solely on like the visual aspect of why I'm here. And yes, as a DP, I still have to run a crew, but it's such a great team effort that like everybody's putting 100% specifically in what they're doing. So like nothing goes lacking.
Exactly.
And I mean, who doesn't need teamwork? I mean, I think we all get to a place where like filmmaking's great, but now having a team is just greater.
Even better, right? Because
So-
like, I mean, it's more stress, but it's a different type of stress. You're once you become a DP or a director, in that sense, you are now managing things. You are making sure everything's running well. You are the voice and also the tone of how the set goes.
Yes.
So with talent, with your crew, with the story, like where your head is at will lead how that day is going to go. And that's another skill. It's not just shooting anymore. Once you get to doing this, it's not just shooting, it's your vision, your voice, and your tone. And really that leads everything.
Yeah, I think it's what you said yesterday about like DPs being the neck.
Yeah.
Because the director is the head, the DP is the neck, and then from the neck, it's the full body. So a lot of people don't understand what a DP is. You think, oh, DP is just shooting. But it's so much more that goes into play when you're a DP. You literally control the arms, the legs, the stomach, every single aspect. So you control, you're over and you're connecting with the set designer, the gaffer, and you know, the producer, all of these people you have these connections with, and so that's where that transition was from. But yeah, filmmaking's great, and like I do it all. So like there are times where I jump back into my filmmaking bag where I might have to do it all, but then there's other times where I get that opportunity to just be a DP, and I love it.
Yeah. But I appreciate you taking the time to do this, and make sure to check out her work.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for coming to LA.
I know, right?
Hang out with
this
me.
Actually worked. This worked. I was like,
he basically hung out and helped on my set because it was a lot happening.
I was the homie.
It's always gonna be something happening on set.
Always. Yeah, we got way more to talk about.
And shout out to Ian for just literally letting us do everything.
It was all him.
All right, so you made it to the end of the video. Thank you again for watching. Again, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. There's going to be more content like this and other projects that I'm planning to bring to the channel. So make sure to check out the current videos that we have and the links below. And until then, I catch you guys on the next one. Peace.